Coming up, memorial services are held in both China and Taiwan to honor the deceased on GE 235. Sleeping pills may not necessarily be the cure for insomnia and may actually lead to more complications. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Dennis Wu. Thank you for joining us. On the seventh day following the TransAsia Airways plane crash in Taipei, Taiwan, family members of those aboard who passed away in the tragedy organized memorial services in both China and Taiwan to pray for the deceased. In Taiwan, an official memorial service held at Taipei City's second funeral parlor. The president and the city's mayor also joined the event.
On February 10th, an official memorial service was held in Taipei for victims of the TransAsia Airways crash. President Ma Ying-jeou, Premier of the Executive Yuan Mao Zhiguo, Ministry of Transportation and Communication Minister Chen Jianyu, and the Mayor of Taipei City, Ke Wen-je, attended the ceremony to pay a final tribute to the deceased.
在佛教慈济功德会慈诚委员致公，代表灵前雨季。
More than 50 Tzu Chi volunteers also arrived at the service to express their condolences.
We hope to provide much-needed emotional support for the family members of the passengers who passed away in the tragedy.
It is hoped that the sound of Buddhist chanting can bring a sense of peace to bereaved family members. Furthermore, two other memorial services organized by NGOs were also held to help family members cope with the tragedy. At the funeral service for pilot Liu Zizhong, family members decorate the venue with pictures of Liu smiling. Despite dealing with the loss of her son, Liu Zizhong's mother still puts up a brave front and expresses her gratitude to the rescue workers.
My son and his mission. I can't describe my feelings, but I want to thank all the rescue personnel.
With his cremated remains taken back to his hometown in Nantou, pilot Liao Jianzong's loved ones organized a memorial service in front of his home. Local Tzu Chi volunteers also arrived to offer a Dharma service.
We hope Liao Jianzong can peacefully enter the Pure Land so his parents can put their minds at ease.
Besides praying for Liao, the volunteers also make sure to offer bereaved family members emotional support and words of encouragement.
I'm very thankful to Tzu Chi, and especially the rescue personnel. They worked so hard in the rain to help find my son. I want to thank all of you on behalf of my son.
Instead of living sorrow, Liao Jianzong's father decided to face the death of his son bravely. In the days to weeks to come, Tzu Chi volunteers will continue to accompany Liao's parents through this difficult time.
Today is the seventh day following the TransAsia Airways crash. 40 people lost their lives, 15 people were injured, and 3 remain missing. On February 9th, the remains of 3 passengers were taken back to Xiamen. We will try our best to make sure they leave this world with dignity. All of us should pray for our fellow citizens who are still in Taiwan.
Meanwhile, in Xiamen, China, a service was organized at the local funeral parlor for victims of the recent plane crash in Taipei. With the support of Tzu Chi volunteers from both sides of the streets, family members felt a sense of calmness. Under the request of family members, Tzu Chi volunteers arrived at the funeral parlor to offer a Dharma service.
We are here to offer our sincere prayers. We hope victims of the plane crash can follow the chanting of the Buddha's name and enter the Pure Land.
Following the TransAsia Airways Flight GE 235 crash on the 4th, rescue teams and other sources for assistance have poured in. Let's now take a look at efforts of these volunteers on the ground.
哇，不是啊，真多哎，真的很多哎，就是一箱嘛，我不知道。然后这个哪里？哦，我。
Lai Qingyu and her husband arrived with 5 pounds of ginger, 2 buckets of water, and other ingredients. With a heart to serve, the couple prepared ginger tea using a special recipe to warm up the emergency workers.
Some of the emergency workers were shivering and their lips turned purple due to the cold, so I added brown sugar to the hot ginger tea to help them brave the cold weather.
是没有用姜汤加黑糖啊，这样子他们下水的时候先喝一下的话，反而会比较没有那么冷。
有需要地瓜粥的吗？地瓜粥。
These two young men have been offering hot soup at the crash site for the past 3 days.
是自己开这个，不是，就特别去自己去买来花的。
The Entrepreneurship Development Association Action Vehicle has been offering assistance since day one, with everyone taking turns to serve rescue personnel.
I prepared food and drinks, which were convenient to consume, such as hot ginger tea and steamed bun.
In less than 2 hours, 200 cups of coffee were served.
Whatever is needed, we will do our best to help. Even though I'm tired, I still enjoy being part of this.
虽然身体还蛮累的。
They work tirelessly to help search for the missing passengers. I can't tell you how tough it is to work in a freezing river.
Local residents have also put their love into action, but close to 1,000 people join the rescue operation each day.
我们支援好几天，很多人流支援，是，对，很辛苦，还好啦，不会啦。
People flock to help with the rescue effort from morning till night. At the rescue site is another devoted volunteer, Chen Jinghuan, who suffers from polio. Despite her condition, she has been assisting at the service station for more than 12 hours. But the winter here, Chen Jinghuan works tirelessly to make sure the rescue team have enough food to enjoy and assist them whenever they need it. Chen made sure everyone has enough food to eat, as if she were caring for her own families.
I will let you know how to take over, and then you tell the next person who will fill in for your position. Supporting the rescue effort is a top priority for Tzu Chi volunteers who are ready to step in whenever and wherever needed. Such commitment and selflessness moved Chen to tears. When Wu Zhaocai, who works part-time to make ends meet, has decided to set aside his job to help with his rescue mission, he helps with all kinds of work, from the heavy lifting to setting up the generators.
If you pay attention to your work, you will not feel cold at all.
The selfless giving of the volunteers has inspired You Xizhang to record their brave effort for the past 6 days.
I gave them ginger tea when they arrived on shore. Their hands were shivering from the cold.
Thanks to the media volunteers, the bravery of the emergency worker, and the love and care of Tzu Chi volunteers and Taipei residents has been documented for all to see.
As it is currently spring in southern Africa, afternoon thunder showers are a common occurrence. Recently, Zimbabwe has been experiencing a wave of heavy rains, which has caused many adobe houses to collapse. When Tzu Chi volunteers learned of the news, they quickly readied more than 1,200 bags of rice and blankets to help residents in affected townships.
Houses in this rural community have been ruined by days of heavy and persistent rainfall. As residents here are too poor to afford cement, homes that were built from clay and mud bricks collapsed due to the heavy rain. Residents have no choice but to patch up the damage with plastic bags and cotton sheets. Receiving news of the situation, Tzu Chi volunteers arrived in the township with rice, blankets, and emotional support. Malse's home was completely destroyed. The young man and his 85-year-old grandfather have been living in this tent ever since. As Malse suffers from an eye disorder, he is often looked down upon. However, with a humble and respectful demeanor, volunteers handed him a bag of rice and wrapped him in a blanket. A car accident 4 years ago left Saziva disabled. Saziva's neighbor kindly built her a simple shelter to shield her from the rain, and today volunteers have arrived with rice to help. Although Mandividza was not home at the time volunteers visited, he did not forget to write a letter thanking Tzu Chi for the rice and aid. In the letter, he mentioned that although it is difficult to make ends meet, there is hope because of Tzu Chi. Although poor financially, because of love, these residents' hearts are rich with gratitude.
To deal with insomnia, Taiwanese take 327 million sleeping pills a year. Some of the pills are habit-forming, and thus dosages need to be increased with time. Often, patients still cannot get a good night's rest after taking the pills. And worse, side effects may also cause more harm than good. Here's our report.
All day long, I was groggy and tired, yet I still had trouble sleeping. So I decided to see a doctor, who decided to prescribe some sleeping pills for me. After taking Zolpidem for about 2 to 3 years, one time, in the middle of the night, I just peed myself on the way to the bathroom. When I came to in the morning, I immediately knew I stepped in a puddle of urine, but I was completely unaware when it first happened. Prescribing sleeping pills is often a last resort, as prolonged periods of sleeplessness will affect our autonomic nervous system.
When Zolpidem first became available in 1980, it was supposed to replace the more traditional Estazolam and Flurazepam, as it claimed to induce sleep faster and have fewer side effects.
After several years, people soon found out that Zolpidem was more habit-forming. The dosage for a certain percentage of users would have to be increased continuously.
In the last 6 years, cases of Zolpidem abuse have increased by 6 times, forcing Taiwan's National Health Insurance Administration to keep track of all Zolpidem prescriptions issued. Statistics show that of the 327 million sleeping pills prescribed per year in the country, Zolpidem makes up 46%.
After I take a sleeping pill, I will sleep for a long time. But after I wake up, I will still be tired.
I would take my sleeping pills at around 10 p.m., but by 2 in the morning, I would be up. I don't know why I just can't sleep. Meanwhile, my head will ache terribly.
Why do patients still feel tired after falling asleep with the help of sleeping pills?
Sleeping pills can help promote and induce sleep. However, the sleep that happens is considered to be early stages of sleep.
Unable to fall into a deep slumber, insomnia patients cannot get the rest they need. Thus, sleeping pills are not really the solution to sleeplessness.
Since the brain is already asleep, so he would be talking gibberish, and others wouldn't be able to understand him. After the patient takes his sleeping pill, because of the effects of the medicine, he can remember what he did before falling asleep. Without taking the medicine, or if dosage has been lowered, discomfort such as anxiety and sleeplessness will worsen.
Mr. Xu, who had been there, followed his doctor's orders and decided to give up on sleeping pills. Now he follows a strict schedule.
Every day I get up at about 5 in the morning and come up here on the mountain to work. That was how I slowly adjusted myself, and now I'm very healthy.
By depending on sleeping pills, insomnia patients may miss their chance at real health.
Sleeping pills aren't the only solution for insomnia patients. Keeping a regular schedule and adjusting your biological clock can help. This is so-called cognitive therapy.
The real solution to insomnia is to find out what is causing the condition and deal with the problem accordingly, instead of forcing the body to sleep with sleeping pills. Only then can insomnia patients get a good night's rest.
Turning our cameras to Malaysia, Tzu Chi volunteers from Kuala Lumpur and Selangor chapter continue to take concrete steps to help those affected by the December floods. Recently, volunteers returned to Pahang State once again to carry out 3 cash card distributions in both Kuala Kerau and Temalong. But first, we join students of the Tzu Chi kindergarten in Kedah as they made their favorite sweet snacks for charity fundraising to help flood victims.
Orang sama IC, silakan keluarkan.
2 locations, 3 distributions. Tzu Chi volunteers are back in Pahang to hold cash card distributions for 2,959 families in Kuala Krau and Temulo. The volunteers' love and concern for these residents goes far beyond monetary assistance. Although residents of this predominantly Muslim community remained reserved at first, the sincerity and genuine care of volunteers gradually opened their hearts.
From what I've seen, the event is well organized and it's being carried out very efficiently.
One of the biggest domestic banks in Malaysia, Public Bank Berhad, has partnered with Tzu Chi to provide follow-up service for recipients of Tzu Chi's cash cards. The local bank's branch manager and his staff were also present at the distribution to offer their assistance.
We will speed up the entire process so that residents may get the necessary assistance they need. Since
the time of the floods, Tzu Chi has taken concrete steps to help residents start over and rebuild their lives from scratch. From the Cash for Work program to emergency relief to now the cash card distributions.
My stall has been out of business since all my equipment was damaged. With Tzu Chi's Consolation Cash, I can get my business up and running again.
If it were not for the floods, I wouldn't have met Tzu Chi. I want to follow in the volunteers' footsteps and help those in need.
Although the money will eventually run dry, the love contained in these cash cards, however, will remain forever.
We're going to make chocolate and oat clusters.
With their aprons and chef hats on, young students of the Tzu Chi kindergarten in Kedah are making their favorite treats. However, these snacks are not going into their stomachs, but are for another purpose. Dividing the tasks between themselves, some were put in charge of making the snack, while others were responsible for packaging them.
We're selling these chocolate oatmeal cookies to raise funds for the flood survivors to help them rebuild their homes.
Determined to help flood survivors, these young children plucked up the courage and put their entrepreneurial skills to the test, while parents responded enthusiastically to the charitable cause.
This fundraiser made them realize just how fortunate they are. It also gives us an opportunity to help the flood victims.
Reaching out to flood survivors with a helping hand, these children are planting seeds of gratitude through giving.
In wake of the massive flooding in Malaysia's Kelantan state 2 months ago, Tzu Chi has been carrying out cash for work programs in several of the areas with hit towns and villages. Although the population of Kelantan is primarily Muslim, the Buddhist NGO's selfless efforts and care have been widely recognized and applauded by the religious community. Here's more.
Here in the village of Kuchul, Buddhist volunteers and Muslim residents work side by side in love-filled Cash for Work program.
We have seen how Tzu Chi has called on everybody to do good deeds and dedicate themselves to the community. Before this all took place, I wasn't aware of Tzu Chi. It was only through hearing about it on the news that I realized it was a Buddhist organization.
The only building to escape flooding in the village of Kuchul was the town's mosque. Tzu Chi thus made the mosque the gathering point for its Cash for Work program, which saw a total of 1,127 people participate.
Go, go, go!
We have received positive feedback from members of nearby mosques. We're very grateful for the help which Tzu Chi has brought. There was no objection from any of our mosque members. They supported this 100%.
While in the village of Manekurai, 5 days of Cash for Work programs saw the participation of 2,548 people. It is here that Tzu Chi will be building its prefabs as people from different faiths come together to realize this dream.
During the Sunday prayer session, I had everyone pray on behalf of the health of the volunteers. We have no money that can repay the volunteers from their help. So instead, we pray to God as a way to thank everyone for their efforts.
With faith and love, residents here in Malaysia are finding the courage and strength to restart and rebuild.
At Tzu Chi's New Year banquet held at the Tzu Chi Kunshan Recycling Station in Jiangsu, China, a Tzu Chi care recipient and his family took the opportunity to share how Tzu Chi's company over the past 4 years has changed their lives.
Though it is raining in Kunshan, Jiangsu, Zhu Yuan and his family still go out to recycle. His daughter Zhu Mei-xiu can now open up to Tzu Chi volunteers.
下雨天哦，还是来做环保吗？
还是来做环保。
为什么？
因为有大家的陪伴，做得很开心。
Zhu Yuan's wife is mentally handicapped, deaf-mute. His daughter shut the world out and blamed her mother because of this. Now, because of volunteering and recycling, things are changing for this family.
Before, she would not let anyone sit in her mother's seat during mealtimes. After we told her that everyone wearing this uniform is all a part of her family, and many hugs and kisses, she began to understand.
我这个老师呢，他那个语义的轻度的精神病呢，他也得病，他也高兴，很高兴，快活。
Zhu's niece joined Tzu Chi a year ago after seeing how Tzu Chi cared for her uncle's family and personally witnessing changes to this family. She shares what she saw with everyone at Tzu Chi's Chinese New Year banquet.
My cousin was a sloppy girl, but now she is prim and proper.
My name is Zhu Mei-xiu, and I am training to become a Tzu Chi volunteer.
With love, the barriers that divided the Zhus have been removed as they continue their pursuit of happiness with Tzu Chi at their side.
In Ontario, Canada, Tzu Chi volunteers in Toronto recently organized a year-end blessing ceremony at the Rose Theatre. But first, we join the year-end blessing ceremony held at the Tzu Chi Stockton office in California, the United States.
At Tzu Chi's year-end blessing ceremony in Stockton, California, Tzu Chi volunteers and members of the public sincerely pray for a disaster-free world.
Everybody can be nice and peaceful when they feel good. And so when you're making people feel good and their needs are met, they are peaceful, and that's the bottom line and the bottom principle, and I think that's what you stand for.
I came from a background of Christianity and then became a Muslim, and I am greatly heartened by seeing Tzu Chi and all religions come together to help people in need.
Handing a blessing and wisdom red envelopes to the participants, the volunteers hope everyone can go home with hearts filled with blessings and Dharma joy. Meanwhile, in Toronto, Ontario, local Tzu Chi volunteers seized the chance to rehearse for their musical adaptation prior to the year-end blessing ceremony. To encourage participants to reduce their carbon footprint, the volunteers thoughtfully organized a bus service to the Rose Theatre. By putting on the musical adaptation, the volunteers expressed their determination to spread the Dharma to all corners of the world.
The Southern Australia experienced the worst wildfires in 30 years in early January. To help a couple who lost their home to the fires, Tzu Chi volunteers of Adelaide provided them with blankets and consolation cash at the local liaison office. We leave you with these images. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.